that just sold.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's Jmoney, HowToPulse. We got LV, The Long Vacation. We got Jesse, Walrus, and KG. I think we're waiting on Mando to show up. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing great.
Halfway in, feeling great.
Right on.
Doing good.
Water,
Thanks for having
I
me.
think Jesse just won with the largest cocktail.
That's a big old container for a margarita.
That's right.
Yeah, man. So, what's up? So, yeah, I just want to get on and. What's that? Oh, sorry. I might be having some internet issues here on my end, but yeah, I just wanted to bring everybody together and let's talk about what you're ready to do for the fork, right? If everybody's ready to go. Anybody want to take off from there? Or?
Yeah, you want to go around and do a quick introduction just because? You want to kick us off, KG?
Yeah. Well, we got Walrus at the top. You want to introduce yourself? Everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, what's going on, community? So you guys know I'm Walrus. I'm part of the HowToPulse team with Jmoney as well. Obviously always involved in a lot of the PulseChain and Hex circles. Knowing all these guys here on the screen with me for a long time, we help and build and do a lot of education everywhere we can. A lot of us collaborate together on building things and always trying to add value and education and, just try to make sure that the community ethos is echoed in everything we're doing. So obviously I love all these guys and they've done a lot to contribute to me being able to contribute as well. So that's who I am. Most of you guys already know, and blessed to be here.
All right, cool.
Right,
everyone knows me as
Next, we got
Jesse.
Jesse.
Yep. I think most people know I'm part of the Liquid Loans team, and I like to make my rounds and talk about strategy and talk about Pulse and Hex amongst the community as well.
Right on. KG.
What's up? I'm KG, founder of the Internet Money Ecosystem, PulseChain Maxi, and just happy to be here with you guys. What's up, everybody?
Very nice. And LV, how you doing?
Greetings. So it is a Monday, but it's still a good day. Part of PulseChain ecosystem here in managing the Telegram chats. Been working side by side with many of the gentlemen here on this call here, helping answer questions of never-ending questions over the past 10 months, actually a year now. I think we've been in there, strategizing about this very event that's coming very, very soon. I remember back in April of last year, we were sitting there trying to figure out, well, what happens to liquidity when it comes over, and what's going to happen to the forked contracts, and what's going to work and what's going to be broken. And the funny thing is, we're still trying to answer the same questions today, right?
Very much.
But long vacation. Work with the Power City team. Building an ecosystem of apps and services on PulseChain as well.
Nice. Mando, what's up, brother?
Right on schedule.
Can you hear us? Mando, are you there?
Not.
Technical difficulties.
All good, all good.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Hey, it looks like we're not live.
There's like 2 links floating out there, I just noticed. So I'm going to post.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
We're live.
Okay.
We're live.
All right.
Right on. Mando, can you hear us now?
I can hear you perfect. I just had to change my settings real quick, man.
Nice. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's good, I think. We just kind of went around the room. Everybody kind of introduced themselves. You're last and right on time. So go for it.
The Mando. Been in crypto for Been in crypto for about 10 years. Avid RH bandwagon junkie. Love the guy, love the community. Been here since day one of Hex in the AA. And admin for all three of his chats in Pulse, PulseX, and PulseChain, at the forefront of getting the world onboarded onto this new currency and this new blockchain that we're about to launch. It's been amazing out there in the spaces, doing a lot of things to onboard people to this new chain and to make awareness. Just got back from Vegas speaking at the Hex convention where I saw a long vacation, and Jesse, the pit boss, and a lot of other great people. Just excited for the launch. We're getting very close.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of want to just do a broad overview of like what is PulseChain, what is PulseX, see if we can kind of dig into the weeds a little bit into those subjects and see what people can do to get ready for the fork if they haven't done so already. And so if anybody wants to jump in, just kind of what is PulseChain was kind of the opening deal.
Before we get started, can you just check out the link? Make sure that the public link is working right now, because
we've got a few people commenting now.
Walrus, love the hat, bro. That's
all right. Cool.
Yeah, I definitely checked the link and it says we're live.
All right, cool.
I want to remind all these
Yeah, well,
OGs,
there's two links, and there was 80 people waiting in the other room, and the new link is being
that number keeps going up right now. It's like 102 people over there.
Yeah, they're coming in now. Right on. So anybody want to throw that out there?
Yeah, the quick overview on PulseChain. Most people know, it's this great EVM fork that a lot of us have put a lot of time and energy into. Where we're expecting, unrealistic opportunity in the sense that we think that not only can we capture a lot of the current crypto market, but that we can add a lot to it. And a lot of the people in this room are the ones building, promoting, and doing a lot of work. There's a lot of opportunity. We're going to have this system state copy where all these people are going to get duplications, and that's added a lot of nuance into the strategy of launch, which is very different from most of these chains. Where you've seen other EVM forks, it was as simple as, did you get in early? Did you buy enough, right? It was just buy early and accumulate. There's a lot more nuance to this because of the duplication and that system state. So, we're hoping that a lot of these projects and things come over and adopt, and, whether they do or not, we'll add a lot of speculation. So it's very interesting, some of the things that you can do around launch and the ways you can get in. And also there's the parallel with PulseX. So there's a DAO launching as well. So there's these two kind of competing brand new cryptos that are both from, kind of the same core team, have a lot of the same bag holders. And we're seeing how that can play out. Where do people think that because there's all of these copies, is the DEX and the buy and burn and all that going to be super impactful early on? Or are we going to kind of see kind of what we've seen with historical precedents, where the layer 1 token is the belle of the ball per se? So there's a lot of interesting things that will go around PulseChain.
Very nice. What can we do to be prepared?
Well, everyone knows you're going to have free copies, right? So, like, the first thing to understand is, if you're going to get something for free, how do you maximize that? Now, sacrifice is over. So the next logical thing to do is stack up on ERC20s of your choice that you think will have the least amount of slippage, or might have some value when you get the free copy. I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit later. Just try and get the biggest bag you can of that free thing that you're going to get from the biggest airdrop in the world.
Right. So when PulseChain forks Ethereum, we're going to have that full system state copy. Everybody's going to find copies of everything that they had on Ethereum on their PulseChain wallets, right? So that's a good point you bring up. Like, what are some of those strategies that people can use to maximize that copy? I know there's been some talk of different ERC20s, Hex. Obviously, we started out telling everybody to, use Hex to bring over the bridge or use for the free copies, and then burn those to get Pulse. And then that narrative kind of changed when we realized that was going to, put a bunch of sell pressure on Hex. So then people started talking about other ERC20s with, a lot of liquidity and so forth. And then, Walrus brings up on what is that cryptographic show a couple weeks ago drops a bomb on everybody and talks about how USDC might be the place. So let's dig into that.
I think you want to be very strategic about which ERC20s you pick, right? And what you want to hold for the fork to try to maximize that value. I would personally say don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? And do your research on liquidity. So what is it that you want to hold? Well, look at Uniswap V2, you look at Uniswap V3. The latest we heard is that the AMM fixer bot will be reaping the liquidity from V3 now, which we haven't seen in testnet, but that's what Richard said recently. So we have to take that at face value. And we believe Sushi Swap and maybe a few other dexes, right? So looking at those different places to see like which tokens have the most liquidity, but also weighing or counterbalancing which ones have the most crowded trade. Like you said, Hex. We initially thought Hex was a great place to be because it was the one thing that we believed would actually work on the chain. And now the question is, if everybody's going into the same token, which happens to have relatively low liquidity, right, compared to USDC and other things, then what is the trade going to look like on the other side once you're forked, when everybody wants to then get from that thing to Pulse, right? So there's a lot of factors that you want to consider when you're trying to strategize what is the best thing to get me the most value on the other chain, and where do I want to do that trade.
Right. Walrus, you want to touch on the USDC side of that?
Yeah. So
again.
As LV alluded to, there's a bit of a moving goalpost, right? A lot of the strategies, things we talked about, some of that stuff, like as he said, that was a year ago, right? And a lot of things have developed since then. At the time, we didn't think we were going to have a DEX. We didn't think we'd have this long. We didn't think this many people would bring in the ecosystem. Goalposts has moved. A lot of really, really cool stuff just moved in. There's a lot of projects, and founders in this room. Those things didn't even exist when these things started. A lot of this was the people in this room sitting there scheming and plotting and in back rooms and dark alleys trying to figure out how we were going to take advantage and make this thing very profitable and move forward. So one of the big ones, it was Hex, right? So we saw that big run up lead in the sacrifice, and then later on another sacrifice. So a lot of that mentality of holding Hex was we wanted that exposure to the price ahead of time. We assumed that we hadn't really even got into the idea of how many people were going to be manipulating these these pools. The idea that the fixer bot was going to move it over. We hadn't even got to this stuff yet. So, it was always like, as always, buy Hex and keep moving. So now that we've seen it, now that we know that we're going to have this AMM fixer bot move some of this liquidity over, you can quickly see how something that has thin liquidity like Hex is a great play. And that liquidity pool is awesome for price exposure, but it's not great for immediately swapping out of. So, again, we talked about on the strategies, if you're wanting to avoid price exposure now in what is predominantly a bear market, that's something where a stable can help. And if you are wanting to aggressively inside of that first 24-48 hours move over into Pulse or PulseX, well then Hex you start to see where there's design compromises there and choices where things like stable coins can be more beneficial. And also you have to look at not just what copies are going to be valuable, but what is my overall strategy and what dollar for dollar of investment is going to make me end up with the most Pulse. So even if, say, the copy ends up with more value for this thing than that thing, well, if you catch a dump after the fork event, but before you can bridge over and you lose 10-20% of your value, I don't care how much value you got of the copies, you're going to end up being net negative on that decision. So there's a lot of intricacies there. Again, we've done some deep dives, but this is mostly about just kind of announcing that narrative to the community, making sure they've seen it, that they go through and double check their theories. And if they want to go down and chase the rabbit, we've got some really long strategies on that.
Very cool.
There's
so somebody else going to jump in.
There's some opportunities that a lot of people aren't even considering yet. There's probably a small subset of people that are thinking, but think about the dexes that are not being harvested by the fixer bot. So those would be things like dex.guru. I didn't think Richard was touching Sushi Swap, but there's dozens and dozens of dexes that likely aren't even going to be touched. Now, if you can figure out how to access those pools, and you happen to have you can scoop up a bag of PRC20s for relatively low pulse. Because remember, the whole idea of the fixer bot is it's fixing the ratios. It's taking everything from Uniswap and it's correcting the ratios and redeploying back into PulseX. But what about the pools that it never touches? Those pools don't get corrected. So here's an example. You go to dex.guru, and for 5 pulse, you are able to scoop up the entire PRC20 lot out of that pool of any PRC20 of your choice. All right. So for a few thousand pulse, you're able to scoop up millions and millions and millions of PRC20s, immediately take those over to PulseX, and then dump them for pulse. And you just got millions, if not billions of pulse in an arbitrage, the biggest arbitrage event you've ever seen in your life. If you know how to access those liquidity pools that the AMM bot is not harvesting.
And that won't have a front end. That's the challenge right there, right? They won't have a working front end because you would need to be able to call that contract from whether it's the block explorer on PulseChain, which is challenging to say the least, or right, you had some way of maybe a script or something that's calling those swap functions, from a contract.
And I guess Freedom for All must not know Jesse too well, because I would trust Jesse with my life, but I would never trust him with a secret.
I guess not. I mean, he just dropped the Hiroshima right here, man. Like, thanks, Jesse. Hey, you gotta love a brother that likes to tell people the candy, man. You gotta love a brother.
Well, he raises a great point. Arbitrage is going to be the name of the game for your advanced players on day one, right? So you have different levels of what's going to happen depending upon how experienced people are in the crypto world, right? So you have your intro people who are just going to sit and wait, and they're not going to try to swap things out and let the dust settle, right? There are some people who are trying to ratio trade on day one before the bridge goes live and maybe try to position themselves just on PulseX, right? The ones who are trying to arbitrage the corners, the deep, dark corners that are left after the fork and try to do those three-way trades, that's where you're going to see some amazing action very early on. How long that lasts is a question, right? And it's one of those things that if you don't plan it out, you don't do your research, you could theoretically get wrecked and end up with stuff you don't want that isn't as valuable as you hoped it would be, right? So it's always, good to do research and not just jump into something blindly. But there are opportunities if you really do go looking around, and this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? This is not going to happen again.
Right.
There's no wrong play. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you do or how much you get, it was all free.
Good point.
And unless you just lose all your bag because you thought it was a good idea to buy like a stable coin or something. A copied stable coin.
I think that
Right.
the best, the discussion that most people want to hear is the one that comes in the chats the most, right? I miss the Pulse sacrifice. I'm not the smart contract guru that's going to go and try to call things without a front end. I have no clue how to do that. What's the best way to take advantage and to be onboarded on the PulseChain? That's what the masses need to hear. That's what the masses need. Obviously, that stuff Jesse just talked about is advanced.
Right.
That's not for the noob or even the novice at all. But my goodness gracious, that is going to be a massive opportunity to take advantage of for those individuals.
Well, even if we have Uniswap V2 front end, which I believe was part of our minimum viable product for launch, right? If I remember, though we don't have a working link in testnet for V2B, if I understand it correctly. There still will be liquidity on Uniswap, right? And one of the common things that people misstate when they say like all the liquidity is coming for everything on Ethereum into PulseX. The reality is every liquidity pool on Uniswap and hopefully others, right, that is paired with Ethereum today, that will then be paired with PulseChain tomorrow, with Pulse tomorrow. That is what will be bought up and deployed as liquidity on PulseX. But where you have two ERC20s paired together, USDC and Hex, then that liquidity is actually not something that the automated market maker can go buy up. At best, it can buy up 1/2 of it, but it can't buy up the whole pot, right? And can only deploy part of that over on PulseX. So without a DEX aggregator on day one, right, you need to know where to go to trade whatever it is you're looking to trade, and whether or not what it is you're looking to trade is actually paired with Ethereum today, meaning that it will be paired with PulseChain tomorrow, so that you can then swap that thing for Pulse on PulseX on day one. Right. So it goes back to doing your research, go into Uniswap and see, okay, what am I holding? What is it paired with? Can I even do a trade into Ethereum directly today with what it is that I hold? Right. And if I can't, how many bounces do I have to go through? And where will that liquidity be? Because if I have to bounce through 2 other tokens to get to Ethereum just to make that trade, now you're talking about 1 trade on Uniswap V2 running on PulseChain, and then 1 trade on PulseX running on PulseChain.
Yeah, so let me get this question from the crowd here. It says, question for the panel: how much of your personal crypto portfolio is in PulseChain? Are you diversified? Is it risky to have more than 80-90% on PulseChain? A big portion of that depends on what the bag size is, right? If you said you got $5,000, you tell me that you basically hammered in, pushed in the stack on PulseChain. That's very different than if you got 5 million and you just hit the button one time and send it all to the sacrifice, right? It's very, very different. So a lot of it is on bag size. In general, me personally, I'm a lot less diversified than what is, commonly practiced. But that's a risk profile that I'm okay with. I don't like certain types of risks where I'm unaware of what the risks are. But typically I am very inefficient in that I spend a ton of time on things that I'm interested in, and I make sure that I'm very well rounded and I have a really good grasp of the risks. And I'm willing to take those on. So I typically tend to bet big, but that's not really standard investment strategy, but that's something I feel comfortable with. And it also, again, even that strategy from me, that gets less and less as I go, and that bag gets larger, right? So, when I was first moving in, it was the first couple grand that I moved away from day jobs. And as I started to even, start to invest my time in businesses, I'm pretty centralized. I do things and I obsess over things that I like. But as that's grown, that becomes less and less, as people can even tell in, how I've spent my time in the chats, right? I was basing the chats full time. Is that growing in the space? Now I've, everyone on the space I've spent time with in sidebars or on things they're interested in, whether it's talking in AMAs or doing things on the side for the projects, all these areas where we can add value. So I think you end up with time diversifying, not just your funds, but your time.
And remember, if you're holding ERC20s for the fork, you are then by definition, after PulseChain launches, diversified on 2 chains, because you still have the original on Ethereum and the copy on PulseChain. So, until you bridge all that value onto PulseChain, if that is what you want to do, then you are diversified and you can do whatever it is you want with those 2 separate bags, however you want to diversify it from there.
Yeah, I think diversity also extends beyond crypto, right? You got to look at all portfolios. Some people are holding gold and precious metals. Some people have property, 401ks. Like, those still play a factor in one's portfolio, in my opinion, right? And if you dive into what you have specifically just in crypto and just PulseChain versus other assets, I mean, we're all here for Richard Hart products, and that's why we feel like this is going to be all successful. Me personally, I think I'm around like 40% in the PulseChain and PulseX compared to everything else. So it's fair division for me.
I'm about 30% into Richard Hart products in terms of actually I'm a little bit more with the Hex, probably like 45%. But it definitely makes a difference when you've sacked for Pulse and PulseX versus if you hadn't, right? Because the environment that we're in now is all risk on everything, even in stable coins, for Christ's sake. It's just absolutely crazy. But I think that this environment is actually a net positive for the Richard Hart message. It seems that everything that he's been saying for the past 2 years, pretty much on every front, has come true, come to pass, almost prophetic in a way. Very oddly to say that. From the freedom of speech and the freedom of assembly, and watching out for scams, and watching out for these yield farming things, and watching out for these trusted centralized stable coins, and all these things that he's talked to us about from the beginning. It's funny that it's all coming to a head literally when Pulse is about to launch, you know? So when you say, is it risky? Well, I think you have to ask yourself, compared to what? Right? Compared to what? I mean, if you're outside of the crypto space, then okay, you're comparing it to real estate or precious metals or your stocks or S&P or whatever. But if you're just talking about crypto, I honestly don't think that, I mean, it's 100% speculative. Everything in crypto is 100% speculative. These are all things that they're all brand new, even Bitcoin. Everything's still being tested. Everything's still being battle hardened. Richard's doing something with PulseChain that's frankly just never been done before. So it's all speculative in nature. So you need to know what that tipping point is for you and for your family, so that you're not having an emotional issue if it doesn't seem to trend your way in the time frame that you're looking for it to trend your way, right? But personally for me, I look at what Richard's building compared to the rest of the industry, and it's just the biggest no-brainer on the planet to me. It's proving itself out. Hex is doing exactly what Richard designed it to do. It's paying out the yield exactly as it was designed to pay out. PulseChain and PulseX, to me, represent the most decentralized out of the EVMs in the sense of the no admin keys, where it can be no admin key. And, you know, I love that call function in PulseX for the buy and burn. You know, just these simple things that you can add where the community can vote on certain protocols. And I can go and run that burn call function on PulseX and burn the entire supply that's been sent to it. These are things that you don't find in other chains right now. So the innovation is there, and I think it represents something that you definitely want to be involved with, but you have to know the percentage of risk. You got to know the market that you're in. I don't really trust any of these other things, especially after the freaking Luna debacle. It's just crazy out here, guys. And I'm super thankful that I'm in 45% in Richard Hart products right now.
Well,
Everything.
Good.
Everything has risk, right? If you look back to the beginning of Hex, you'll see that everyone was super excited about the launch of Hex. And then it dipped really, 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 really hard, like some 98% or something. Nobody foresaw that was going to happen ahead of time. It just happened. People were dumping. Like, we can assume that one thing is going to happen in a market, and oftentimes the exact opposite happens. It proves itself time and time and time again in crypto. You can't judge what other people are going to do with their bags. We can all say that we're going to hold Pulse, and if we all do it, it's going to go to the moon, and it's going to 500x in the first month. And then you see a big dump. Like that doesn't mean it's a bad product. So when I look at things to diversify into, I actually find it really easy to diversify inside of the PulseChain ecosystem, right? Like, as you said, there's some founders in this room. Where else can you go where you can talk to these different founders? You can learn about their projects like in depth, ask a million questions if you want. Even offer them some advice, when they seek advice, or if you notice something, help each other, boost each other, and actually launch a really, really cool ecosystem together. Like, sure, I can go over to Cardano and I can spend an hour researching a protocol, but I'm not going to know who that team is. Maybe that team's going to be completely anonymous. I have no idea what their intentions are. I don't see them in the Telegram room. They're not chatting with me. And it's like there's a disconnect there. But inside of the PulseChain ecosystem, while there is a lot of infighting, actually, and some drama, which you've seen in the past.
Normal.
And that's going to happen, right, with any family. Yeah. You actually see a huge group of people that want to help each other and learn from each other. And those are the things that I like to put money into. When I can be intimately involved in understanding of what the other teams are doing, that's where I like to throw my money.
Yeah, and on that note about the dip even too, I think sometimes people lose kind of context where they kind of lose the plot a little bit. If, every time we've seen one of these huge players dip, you hear people like, why don't you use limit orders? Why don't you use limit orders? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Guys, I don't know how to tell y'all. If somebody wants to spend that much energy and drop the price down, eat the slippage, and allow you to buy back in cheaper, let him do that. Why do you want buyers to pay the premium? Let the seller pay the premium.
Absolutely.
Let that guy dump it down. Why? That guy just gave that person who jetted out of the system, whatever his reasons are, just loaded up people at 9, 10, 11 cents as it went back up. Don't make our onboards pay the premium. Let that guy pay the premium. There's no reason to teach that guy to use limit orders or anything else. Do you really want him to set a limit order at 15 cents and watch the price bounce off of him? No. Let him crash it down, give onboards a cheap entry, take it as an opportunity to accumulate, and move on down the road and tell that guy thank you for being bad at his job.
Yeah, and before this thing started, Walrus, I was in the chats modding, and a bunch of people when the whale bot just went poof, and the guys just started market selling, and it went from like 140 people in Telegram to like 215 people, and people are coming in. Why would this guy sell? Why would this guy dump right now before the fork and all this? And I said, dude, do you know how long that guy was staked? He was staked for like 850 days or whatever it was. He did exactly what the smart contract called for. He ran through his truth engine. He did exactly the way a hexagon should. And Richard Hart designed Hex so that at the end of your stake, you can take profits. What a wonderful strategy that is, right? If you don't actualize the crypto into the real world, guys, it can't impact your marriage. It can't impact your family, So when somebody does exactly what the system was designed to do, and that's basically make people rich for staking for long periods of time, it doesn't make any sense that people would wonder why they wanted to take a little bit of profits, especially in such a volatile environment right now.
Yeah, it is really funny to listen to people. When they say, why is that guy selling? Why is that guy selling? How dare he sell? Why would he sell before the fork? The only reason you would say that is because you don't want that guy to make money right now, and you want the price to be higher because of your own selfish greed.
Yep. Nailed that one on the head.
They beat you to the door. The peculiar thing about this particular hex sell, though, is a few things. One, the stake was about 30 to 38 days overdue. So the time at which they dumped the 40 million hex was peculiar. On top of that, if you follow it back to the address it came from, that address A minted the hex from the null address or something. I don't exactly know how that part of the contract works. Then sent it to address B, who staked. Then the stake ended and sent it to address C, who then dumped all of it. So I'm not spreading anything, just spreading facts. Chains don't lie. That's a little weird. It's a little weird.
Well, it was probably minted from the AA,
Interesting.
right?
Okay,
Right.
I didn't understand.
And that doesn't bother me. When I see people moving crypto from one wallet to another wallet, like some of us have like 100 wallets. Some people like to play with like 2 wallets. Like that doesn't bother me. Some people just organize their stuff certain ways, you know?
No, not the multiple wallets. I don't care about that. I have more wallets than I even can count on all my phalanges. But what was confused me, and I may not, it's just a lack of knowledge, I suppose, about this particular function in the hex contract is, what did it mean when the hex came from the null address? Like this particular address didn't buy it off the market.
Yeah, it was minted from the AA. When you went into the adoption amplifier in the first year of hex, right? You put in an ETH, and then at the end of the day, all the ETH that was put in got a share of the, was it 1 billion or something hex that was minted for that day? I forget the amount, and please don't yell at me, guys.
It was
It's been a long
500
time.
million. It was 500 million, and then the
Thank you.
first
It was a billion the
$1
first day, and then it was 500 million every day after that, right? I think. So it was an equal share based on how much ETH you put in, and you know, like probably many people, that's how I stumbled onto hex in the first place, thinking that, hey, look at today for the adoption amplifier, there's barely any ETH in there. Let me throw a bunch of value in and I'll get like a crazy ratio. And then of course someone came in like a minute before it closed and dumped a bunch of ETH in and normalized it out. But you know, I think that's where it came from. So they were an early staker from the adoption amplifier. So from year one, did their time, and then when they claimed, they moved it to another wallet and sold from there.
Yeah, they got that 890 days ago. You want to talk about being a patient warrior? I mean, come on, let's go.
Well, that's the thing, and we can't begrudge someone for getting to the door before us, right? But we do want to try to educate people on responsible selling, responsible in the sense of how not to get yourself wrecked, right? And what you saw was a massive market sell with a significant amount of slippage against him on that, right? So if you go in and you do a massive sell and you end up with 30, 40, 50% slippage, you are leaving money on the table for yourself, right? Not only wrecking the price, but you're wrecking the price against you on the way out the door, right? Responsible selling would be selling in smaller tranches, right? And spreading it out over time, would be setting limit orders, would be providing single-sided liquidity so that on V3, Uniswap V3, so as people buy or sell through the liquidity pool, they're going through your funding there. So you can do what's called one-sided liquidity providing on Uniswap V3 and basically set a price range for it. So if you want people to buy your hex and you want USDC, you would set a price point so that as the market is buying hex, right, it would go through your price point, and you, as the price goes above, you would have more USDC than you would have hex, and that's one way of exiting through the market, right? So there are responsible ways to do this, and now with Hedron, we have more options, right? You can do smaller stakes and sell the HSIs on a secondary market, right? So there are creative ways to be respectful to the market and to retain more of your value on the way out, you know, if you have the time to take advantage of those versus just one big sale, ultra mega wrecked, and, you know, everyone's screaming.
I like that you brought that up, because you're going to see more and more and more of this in the ecosystem. You're going to see ways for people to never sell the thing that they don't want to sell.
I've never heard this.
So,
what is this never selling? I've never heard.
Walrus.
You're going to see this. You're going to see this in a lot of protocols. You're already seeing it with Hedron. You're going to see it with Fiat. You're going to see it with Power City. You're going to see it with Liquid Loans. You're going to see it with PulseX. So, as an example, PulseX, you don't have to sell it. If you want value out of your PulseX token, you simply single-sided stake it. You'll get other tokens constantly, just like this, and you can dump those if you wish. And if you go look at Cake protocol, you know, Pancake Swap, you'll see that the returns are like 60% a year. Like they're really good. You'll get your money back in no time, like your initial, just by getting something up. And what that does is it causes the token that you don't really want to sell that can give you residual income for life. It just has unlimited upward price action potential. So you can see that in many different protocols on the chain. It's a new paradigm shift in crypto of, because everywhere you go, people are like, oh, I'm going to sell at this. I'm going to sell at this 500x or a 50x or 10x or whatever. But the smart people are the ones who jump into all these different protocols and find ways to stake those things for other things that they can go sell for residual income for life.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand with a lot of the financial independence or FIRE movement these days, which is finding passive income sources, and that extends into crypto as well. So it's not just investing in real estate or other businesses that generate income, right? So you invest once and then you have something that's paying you every month in some form. Yes, by all means, you're right, Jesse. Do this in your crypto and invest in things that will then generate things. Hex does that if you go the route of staking your principal, right? And then peeling off the inflation that you earned for your stake and then restaking the principal for another period, right? And then selling that inflation. Or you did a PulseX one-side staking. Or, there's a lot of other opportunities that will be coming to PulseChain to be able to put that to work, even if it's just delegating to a validator, right? There's something that you're earning there. So there are creative ways to put that to work where you don't have to keep selling a portion of your bag every X up in value every time the value goes up, right? And there's ways to use leverage or staking or other things to put it to work for you in creative ways. So I think we have a massive amount of knowledge here in a different program, speakers here on this discussion on this panel. And a lot of products that are being built by the folks here on the panel that are designed to help you do these types of things. So doing your research and reading up about what these opportunities are, right now sets you up for what you want to do over there on PulseChain.
Very true. So that kind of brings me into looking at like the PulseX single-sided third party. That kind of ties in with this, getting your passive income. What do you guys think about that?
Well, that's how Pancake did like insane numbers. Like at one point,
right,
from its lowest to its highest, you could actually argue that it might have one of the best charts in crypto, right? I think I counted, it was like insane. It was like 190,000x. And that's because people caught on and they're like, oh, I don't actually have to sell this thing. I can get these other tokens I can go dump. So people just bought and bought and bought, and they staked, and they got these other tokens, and they dumped those instead. And the price just went absolutely insane. Now, the challenge that Pulse has is protocols have to put those tokens up. They have to like mint those or give them away to the PulseX protocol. And the community also has to vote. That's not a big deal. Over on Binance Smart Chain, you have millions of users, and you have just thousands and thousands of protocols that are willing to throw those tokens into Pancake Swap for exposure. Until PulseChain launches and we start to gain some like real traction from millions of users, it may be a little bit dry in those pools. You may see that, oh, look, single-sided staking. There's really nothing to stake for. There's nothing here yet. And hopefully we start to see a trickle of protocols that want to launch on PulseChain that just want to throw their coins in that single-sided staking application. But it's not going to be right away. It's not going to be right away.
Exactly. I look at that, and that's kind of the hard part. That's the double-edged sword for me, is that PulseChain's launching with copies of everything already there. So what are you gonna see in these third-party token pools? It's gonna be all new projects. You might see some LL in there. You might see some Power State. You might see some NFTs. That HowToPulse is doing with our tokens and stuff. So you might find all these new tokens. So how many of these are there? And how long can that last?
Let's touch on that just for a second, because I want I want everyone to be very clear from a protocol perspective, who already has a large community of holders. It may not be wise to give away tokens for free for other people to dump on your community's head. So you might not see Liquid Loans offer free tokens for everybody to dump. You might not see Power City. I don't know. That's their choice. Right. You might not see some of those. Usually it's the brand new protocols that are looking for exposure because they don't have a community yet.
Yeah, let me try to touch on some of the sponsored pool mechanics. I've seen some people seem like they don't really kind of get like why people would do that, to Jesse's point. So one of the great things about Jesse and the people on the team and the people they brought around is they got a lot of market penetration, right? Like let's kind of skip some of the feelings. Let's just, kind of talk just straight what it is. Those guys have done a good job, right? They had a very successful raise. Their marketing materials are fantastic. Their private testing has gone well. They're going to have their public stuff up very soon. A lot of people understand just from the world things going around that collateralization and taking advantage of things this way makes a lot of sense. So maybe they don't have to buy your attention. They've earned it already. They've done these things in other ways, right? So some of the mechanics around sponsored pools are that not everybody has Jesse and some of the guys around him that have done a great job who have earned their position in the communities and done all these great things to achieve that stuff. Like a lot of the people here who have put in a lot of time and work. So they don't have to pay for it, right? They got to come by to come play with the rest of us. So the way these sponsored pools work in one way is, there's the DOW proposal where they have to get approved. Well, if you have to take the time to go through and read a DOW proposal, that by itself is already commitment, time invested, makes you more likely to engage with the product. Then you have to vote on it in the core tab once it actually gets passed through there. That's more investment, another click you had to do to invest in a protocol. And then you're going to have to actually go in there and select the pool and actually get the yield. So now, again, of course, most of us are going to sell this, but those mechanics make it substantially more likely that they're not just dumped by users who might have participated and that now might, right? They have some commitment they had to read through. If you go through and look at the crowd here that you see here, if you guys go dump in $1,200 of a random token of ours, we're going to dump it on you. If I have no investment, never heard your name, I'm just going to take $1,200, move it into something I find more valuable, and I'm going to move on down the road. So when you have these level of engagement, you make it much stickier. You're going to have a higher market engagement. You're going to have a higher market penetration rather than having to do these other things to try to achieve that. So the DOW proposals from the sponsorship side work like the greatest billboard and essentially a very, very sticky, very sophisticated airdrop. So those things are really expensive in real life. Imagine that you had an audience that's, a few 100,000 people, let's say early in PulseChain. If you got something in front of 60, 70% of the people who are likely to participate, that is unheard of when it comes to marketing. You can't hit that anywhere else. So the DOW proposal from a marketing, distribution, and again, just sort of penetration stickiness is very valuable for a protocol that hasn't done these things yet. So it does make a lot of sense, even if you, as someone who maybe hasn't done these things in business, just thinks, why would somebody give me free stuff? You get free stuff all the time because they're buying the audience, right? One of the most expensive things you can have today is an audience. So that's where those things work. That's why you're going to see those pools. And that's why maybe you see some of these projects who have done a lot for the communities in other ways, maybe don't have to. So it is a give and take. Don't think that if you see just not put up a pool that somehow they don't love you. They've earned it. They've done these things, and a lot of people who are going to participate who would see it, you guys are already in, right? This is going to be for people who have to come into the space new and fresh. They're trying to earn, kind of earn their stripes in these ways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need Liquid Loans or Power City to do that for me. You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, we've all earned the right to not do that, right? In one sense. So when you're coming new to the chain, almost every single protocol is always going to have a piece of that pie that's distributed for promotions to get their name out there. And that's what this single-sided staking pool allows these new protocols to do, with whatever amount that they feel is good for them and good for the community to get their names out there. At the end of the day, when you help people make money, they like that. They like that. Even okay, a percentage of these people, they're going to earn our tokens and they're going to dump them, but they're going to learn all about us. Mm-hmm. It's lost leader. And it's one of the most used promotional tools in corporate America.
And it didn't cost a dime for them besides their time and effort to get, listed and have the vote made, right? Because they minted those tokens out of thin air. It didn't cost them anything. In fact, they didn't even have to go create a liquidity pool and put up USDC and pair it to it. To them, it's free, financially.
Right. So here's a good question on the screen that's associated with this is, can a PRT wipe your wallet? Who's checking on these things? So in other words, is there a chance that a nefarious coin that might have a bad website could become a PRT token that gets earned in yield?
One would hope part of that DAO voting process or submission process includes somebody looking at the code, right, and vetting something before it goes up for vote.
So to Elvi's point, yes, you want to expect so the DOW proposal would be put up. You're gonna have to explain certain things, and that's one of those things where we can sort of vote with our dollars, right? We can say, if you put up a DOW proposal and I've never heard of you and I don't know who your devs are and there's an admin key and there's no audits and I've never seen anything, then no, you can't come play in our sandbox. No, you haven't earned those things, right? So that's things that we can start to vote with our dollars and say that, no, I'm not willing to take the risk on this portion of the yield until you meet certain things. Now, there's not requirements like that on the DAO, but those are things that we can sort of and police, right? And sort of keep the ethos that we've seen in a lot of these projects and be powerful with, right? But the reason I say no right off the bat is you don't want to use that as a placeholder for doing your own research. No one here cares about your bags the way you should. Take good care of them. Assume that that's not the case, but that is the way that mechanics should work, that you should see these things and you should ask those questions and be stringent on those, right? Like everyone here who's a founder or participating in these third-party things, or just when we're sort of defending the Pulse and PulseX and these things, people ask the hard questions and they're entitled to them, right? Doesn't mean they're always fair or polite. They should do them in better ways, but they're entitled to ask hard questions. So make sure that you ask the hard ones too, and always be careful with your bag.
Good explanation.
It is the wild, wild west, man. I just always err on the side of just be careful.
And
well, it goes back
to don't interact. If you're not sure, don't interact. It's better to play safe than sorry. And my personal number one rule in crypto is don't FOMO in, don't FOMO out. If you're unsure, if you're scared, you don't FOMO. Don't FOMO. It's done me wrong every time. Every single time
unless it's PulseChain. Unless it's PulseChain. In the sacrifice.
There are exceptions to every rule.
And we're in the Pulse, baby.
There are exceptions to every rule.
FOMO.
True, unless it's PulseChain.
Well, but going back to the discussion of people who have lots of wallets, well, this is a great example of why you would have lots of wallets, right? Exactly. So if you are not sure about what this thing is, but you want to try it for single asset staking, great. Put some of your PulseX in a separate wallet with a little bit of Pulse for gas and go stake from there. And so that there's a limit to what could be potentially wiped out of that wallet. Right. So there are ways to protect yourself and still participate. Obviously, do your own research. We love to say that. We say it for a reason, though most people don't really do that. They just want to hear from someone they trust that it's okay. But the reality is do your own research, read up about it, look into the community, try to figure out who these people are or, what their exposure is online. And, do they have a good message? Do you trust them? Just the same way that we've been learning about all these projects that are launching on PulseChain, the same thing here. Everything new coming, you want to do the same kind of research on those.
You are always one button press away from losing all your money in any particular wallet.
Exactly.
So it is extremely important to have a lot of wallets. First off, get hardware wallets, hardware devices, or learn how to do multi-sig. Okay. Protect yourself from seed phrase exposure. All right. So hardware wallets. But then even inside of a single seed phrase, you can literally have unlimited wallets. You can have 1 million wallets under that if you want. And if you want to segregate tokens, you want to have some Hex in one, you want to have some Power City in another, you want to do your liquid loan stuff in another. Like, that's actually really, really smart. So if something goes wrong in any protocol that you're playing with, it can't drain everything else that you have. Keep everything separate. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Do just a little bit of research or ask questions over in the PulseChain main chat. People have the answers to help you.
Yeah, people like to be lazy until they get washed.
Yep.
And we see it all the time when they come in the chats and they're just devastated, right? And it was so easy. It really is very easy to not have that happen to you. You just have to not do certain things. And put
hardware wallets and passphrases. Hardware wallets and passphrases.
If your keys have never touched the internet, you're not getting washed.
Right.
If you're not connecting to stuff that you don't know what it is, you're not getting washed. It's really just fundamental chief cornerstone security ops that people just need to adopt, and they should be good. But you got to get your hardware wallets, guys.
Yeah, and if you don't memorize your seed phrase, then nobody can hold you at gunpoint and extort it out of you. So it's literally just best to hold it on a hardware wallet. Don't even know it.
Well, instead you got a bullet straight through your head because you didn't know it, right?
So as we're coming up on the end, I think we've touched on a lot of like the big things. You know, I think we've given enough that people could kind of chew on those and go down some rabbit holes and do further research. As we get to the end, I was just kind of hoping we could talk about some of the community stuff. Obviously, it's come to a head with some of the big names being a little loud. One is a lot of the people in this room have also faced a lot of criticism over the last year for different things here and there. Man, the people in this room have spent a lot of time, both in making themselves capable of helping and in actually helping, and in the people in this room building up the other ones and making them more capable. Everyone in this room has taught me multiple things, helped me from being spun out at some point, threw enough gratitude my way that I was like, all right, you know what? It's Thursday. I'm just going to settle down, right? Everyone's smiling because they probably remember the exact moment I'm talking about for each one of those, right? Everyone here has done it. We've all done it for each other. All of a sudden, we're like, yeah, everything's okay. Then all of a sudden, I'm pulling up someone on Telegram, just going on a rampage to one of you guys in private. Absolutely just disconnected from reality. And there we are, right? So of course, there's some bad actors, man, but look at the body of work, right? Me and Mando the other day were in an AMA and we're helping on a third party on these guys that want to come in and do something positive for PulseChain. We're not part of an evil cabal to get the 60,000 people in Pulse Telegram over to that project. This would be the longest con in history for me to have thousands of hours as an admin, all to wrap it around so that in the next May, I could scoop you guys up and steer you into some project that I have no value in, right? Exactly. We've always been PulseChain forward. I think, LV, how many posts do you have in PulseChain main? Like,
oh God,
I'm still the #1 spot, even since June. Let's just say since June of last year, been the top spot. Yeah,
and everyone here has
I had it at one point.
Yeah, and everyone here has pushed their projects forward on PulseChain. They're trying to build things for PulseChain. They're trying to build things in this community. They're doing things that have a common ethos, where we've all helped and contributed to a lot of these other people's projects, right? The project I was speaking previously of, Mando was informed on those. Me and KG have met in person and talked about things about what's important and ways to do adoption and these things being important. I've met in person with, everyone on this call. I've literally shook their hand, gave them a hug, told them how much I personally appreciated what they've done, and they've done the same for me. And we're building things of value as a community. We're not always going to agree, but we agree enough that we can always build forward. And some of this stuff is nonsense. If you don't like what anyone else is doing, build it your damn self. You don't need anyone's permission. It's decentralized. You don't have to ask permission. If you don't like what LL's doing, you have a better way to do it, go build it. If you don't think you have a better wallet, go build it. Power City is doing everything. So if there's anything you think you can do different, go build it and try to go compete with Power City, right? If you don't like the way Mando and some of these guys are admins, by all means, go give us a couple 100 hours in education in crypto, then come into the community where everybody trusts you, and then donate your time for free, and you can be an admin. And until you fill those, shut up and build it yourself. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's always going to be complications. We have to understand that we like each other way more than we don't. And if you don't like what RH is doing, build it your damn self. No one has to ask for permission. So it's just one of those things, guys, that we can always be critical and try to improve. But before you take stuff and have public beef, one, reach out to people privately. As Jesse alluded to, a lot of these people are accessible. And if you don't like what other people are doing, build it your damn self. And if it's good, then the rest of us will come support you.
Amen to that.
Be nice, right?
And be nice.
Be nice.
Yeah, PulseChain is big enough for thousands of projects to launch on. I mean, look at Binance Smart Chain, look at Phantom, look at Ethereum, look at Avalanche, right? There's hundreds or thousands of projects that are running on those chains and with active communities. So, you know, it's not all about one project or community, though I would prefer it was. But we are all, you know, we all came out of this when a passion for PulseChain, a passion for a new chain that will address the challenges that we're seeing on Ethereum now. And we are actually the only community that is united around that passion for the chain itself. There is no Binance Smart Chain community. There is no Phantom community. There is no Moon Chains community, right? They're focused on the projects that are running on those chains. We're actually built around the chain itself and the ecosystem of all these dApps and projects that are running on it. So we have a strength that the others don't have, and the ability to go show support on building that, because when we build an ecosystem, even if it has the seedy areas, right, the crappy, you know, shit coins launching on it, it's still volume, it's still transaction volume, and every transaction on PulseChain is going to burn 25% of its fees, right? So you got to look at this from a macro point of view. You might not like NFTs, right? Because maybe you don't believe in expensive JPEGs. Well, you know, there are other uses for NFTs as well. But just remember, NFTs consume the most gas on Ethereum today because they are very gas inefficient. Well, what is more gas being spent on PulseChain going to do for everyone? It's going to burn more Pulse. So if you look at it from a macro point of view, right? All these projects coming here, all these things launching here, and the more people that we bring onto chain and the more value we bring onto chain is pumping your bags, right? And if you're not part of the solution to help bring these people onto chain and help bring adoption to all these platforms, right, then we're just going to be sitting around here trading each other's dollars back and forth within this closed community, right? That's not fun. So we need this community to stand up and take a part and raise their hands and say, yes, we are going to go build this out and bring everybody in and make it happen, right? We're going to go and do the Twitter storms. We're going to go and we're going to petition these groups to come and bring their projects onto PulseChain, to use their forked projects that were brought over for free, that they can just adapt and tweak and make it run in a new, cheaper environment, right? But we have to go and be the ones making, you know, the moves there, getting it, bringing the awareness. Because if we don't do it, no one's going to go do it for us.
Yes, and be nice.
Like
I said, be nice to other communities, nice to each other. Don't. You'll never hear this from Liquid Loans. When somebody buys a year from now, you'll never hear us say, you're an idiot for not buying it earlier. Ha ha ha, I told you, right? You actually hear this sort of thing amongst the Hex community a lot. And I'm not just talking about one person. I'm talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of Hexicans that go into other communities and mock people when they are at their lowest point, some suicidal from the Luna thing, and they make fun of those people and tell them, you should have got into Hex a long time ago. We told you so. Ha, ha, ha. You deserved it. Those people will never buy Hex. That's not how marketing works. Okay? So literally just think about putting yourself in other people's shoes, get along with each other, help each other, and onboard people the right way.
Completely agreed that it's toxic maximalism. We have to be more inviting. And at every point, we have to remember the ABCs. Always be closing. Every single person we interact with, every single person that sees Hex, PulseChain, we are ambassadors of this brand. And we need to show people that they can be liberated by this ecosystem, not afraid or ashamed to come over because they didn't hear about it earlier. We're blessed. We're lucky. I can't believe I'm in disbelief that I found PulseChain pre-sacrifice. We should extend the blessings that we were granted and lift people up with us. And if we do that, we will be the strongest community in crypto. We already have the roots. What other communities do you go into where you can sit in a room with 6 people all doing different things with one common goal? I have not seen this anywhere else, and I want to let the entire world know about what we're doing here.
100%.
Yeah, and you know, we are a collective, and it's amazing to be part of a collective, but a collective doesn't equal a hive mind where everybody thinks the same exact thing or, you know, adheres to the same exact dogma or belief or ethics. So, you know, we're not here. You know, it's like we don't hire a president of the United States because he is Jesus Christ. You know, that's not his job. Everybody is not going to have the exact same belief systems, but at the end of the day, it's about the code. It's about the products that are being built in crypto. I mean, this is 100% about crypto, and it's about going out into the marketplace and taking a look at the things that we've used in the past and what we've learned about those things, what works and what hasn't worked. And again, it is amazing that, you know, not only do we have this pretty large market downturn, which is pretty damn timely, but we have all these other things that have just continued to blow up that Richard has been teaching people about. And it's important that right now the community puts aside kind of the just more base level stuff that's meaningless and just enjoys onboarding people and getting people educated about the potential for what PulseChain can bring. Because me personally, I'm freaking sick and tired of dealing with the stuff that I'm dealing with on Ethereum. It's obvious that things should be better. It's not working the way it was intended to be designed. And I think that PulseChain, once it launches, it's almost going to be impossible for people to not come over and take a piece of it. It just wouldn't make sense to me if you're a crypto person and you believe in decentralized things, you know, and you believe in the no admin key, the you know, personal responsibility. That's what this entire ecosystem is about, like from the core up. It's not just talking about it. It actually is designed to be that. And that is going to be the unique thing about PulseChain that I think that once they see it, it's going to be almost impossible to not come over and participate on the chain.
God, we hope, huh?
Very powerful. Well, guys, I mean, look at what happened with Luna, right? I was in about 5 Spaces calls, and I agree with everything that Jesse said, because you know what? If you're a toxic Hexican, you got to understand that PulseChain is way bigger than Hex. Period. I said it. It's way bigger than Hex. It's a massive global L1. And you don't kick people when they're down. You lift them up. You help them out, right? You come alongside, you encourage people. there are a small group of people that are just toxic sons of bitches. And I don't like them, frankly. I'll deal with them, but I don't like them. And, you'd think that as business savvy as these people are, they'd learn to have a little bit more class. It's like they completely missed the class, part of life when they were growing up or something. It just mind boggles me, the amount of money these people have, but no discernment on how to posture themselves properly to make people look at the thing in a good light. There's a saying, always tell the truth, but tell it in its best light. So I look forward to PulseChain being launched because the speculation is just driving people up the wall. I think last night with that lunar eclipse that went on, I think certain individuals went crazy last night. Literally. I honestly, guys, I'm super conservative in my beliefs, but I felt that lunar eclipse last night. I mean, there was something going on, man.
And today's a full moon too.
Yeah. So look, I just want to encourage everybody in our awesome community, lighten up. We have amazing things coming. PulseChain has massive product market fit in a pretty damn corrupt space. And I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air. You can love Richard. You can hate Richard, right? You can love that he's so honest and truthful in what he does. You can hate it. But at the end of the day, it's about the code and whether or not what's being created is going to do what it's supposed to do. And that's really all that matters, guys. We're not here to push our ethic on one person over another. And I feel like that's true.
Yeah, a modicum of compassion and respect, right, goes a long ways in the community and outside the community. And, extend that to others and they will respect you and they will maybe actually hear the message versus slam dunking on them just to say, to make yourself feel better, right? Because it's not about us. It's really about them.
Yeah, I was going to lightly touch on something similar. It's just kind of in closing is, if you look at the people on this call, I would say that the things that we have all individually accomplished over the last year are far greater than any of our individual talents. And I mean that very truthfully. There's a lot of really cool things that have come out of this group here and sort of that original, Telegram group and a lot of these people that have kind of touched in and out of the community that are far greater than just sort of the impact we've had other places. I think the work that I would, again, from what I've seen from the rest of you guys, I'm sure you guys would echo it. The work I've done in the last year is some of the most important things I've ever done in my professional career. And I've been a successful guy, but not like this. Now to be able to have the impact on a community of this size, to be able to build the things we're building, to be able to know the people around me that are participating in things this large, this stuff is special. And for everyone that has criticisms, I hear it. No one's perfect, but you could have done it too. If you don't like the way the admins were acting, why aren't you an admin? Where are you at? If you don't like the way RH is acting, why aren't you a leader? How come we don't have a single influencer over 25,000 people? It's hard. I don't have it either. I'm not arguing that. But where were you at? You've had 2 years. Where's your brand? If that's what you're trying to accomplish? If you any of these kind of criticisms, whatever it is, you could have built it yourself. No one here got asked. No one here was paid as an admin. No one here was paid before they started creating things. Everyone is more than capable. I've seen people that have no understanding of crypto come in and contribute in really, really cool ways. There are graphic artists that build cool stuff. I've seen there was a guy who was a fire investigator and went on a rant for like an hour on how fireproof safes works and some of the most safe ways to protect your seed phrases. People contribute in all kinds of ways. I don't have a computer science background. I can't program the clock on a microwave. I found a way to be able to communicate because I have smart people around me who help me translate complex information. I don't know this stuff innately. Half the things people have heard me say that sound smart, I stole from the guy sitting around me. I may have reworded it. You may think it's pretty when I say it versus them. You may, whatever it is. People find a way to to be constructive when they really want to participate. And if you're complaining about a void in the community, that's just what it is. Just contribute. There's always something to be done in the community. There's always something to be done. Build on it, contribute, build it your damn self. Be nice.
Yeah, and I would say in the Twitter spaces, if it says PulseChain or, you know, Hex or whatever, and you go in there and y'all are talking about vaginas and pussies and whatever else, yeah, you're fine. But why don't you call it vaginas and pussies instead? Just a thought.
We went the whole stream, and you made it impossible.
Well, then that would be setting expectations, and we don't want to do that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to call it girth, call it girth. You know, talk about what the title says.
You stay classy, PulseChain.
Exactly.
On that note.
Yep. Well, we've been going for an hour and 15. You guys want to kind of do an exit out of this? You want to take a minute, Jesse, you got any announcements going on with liquid loans that you want to bring up, or anything new that you want to tell your viewers?
Yeah, so SAC balances are really, really close to being released, as is the public testnet. People ask, by the way, every protocol launches in a different fashion. Liquid Loans has decided we're not releasing. We just simply don't release anything until it's perfect. Okay, that includes a public testnet that people can play with, because first impressions are everything. Okay, and I would suggest to other protocols, do not launch things until you are absolutely certain the code is good, the security is good, the user interface is absolutely perfect. I would encourage you to do the same thing. So we're right around the corner from some of that. There's some other cool things that are coming. We already have spooled up a validator people could participate in. We have a Gnosis safe that people will be able to use. I think some other, like, there's actually other protocols that are going to have Gnosis as well, but there's cool stuff coming. And it's
love that multi-sig.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Stay tuned. T.me/liquid loans if you want to come ask questions.
There you go.
Yeah, I just want to say to you guys, man, at HowToPulse, man, it's been amazing. I really, really appreciate everybody on here. It was great meeting you guys in Vegas. But the tools you guys have built over there have just been phenomenal, man. I send everybody there when they're new, and every single time, I mean, it doesn't even take more than a half an hour. They come back and like, man, Mando, thank you so much for sending me to that website. This thing is freaking awesome, man. So, you know, it takes a lot of work to build something that in depth. So thank you guys for building that for PulseChain. And Jess and Long Vacation and KJ Walrus. I mean, it's just been an absolute blessing. Made a ton of friends in this journey so far since the Pulse launch, the sacrifice, people from all over the world. And it's not just about the money. You know, you could be a billionaire dying with cancer, and you wish to God you could give up all that money just to have another week, right? It's about people. It's about impacting people's lives. And I am more excited to go out and impact people's lives. I'm like, Lord, I am so blessed that we're in this place. And I'm just wondering what things I'm going to be able to do to impact other people's lives. It's going to be awesome, man. So I'm very excited. I just want to say thanks, guys, to you guys for everything, all the hard work, and many blessings to everybody.
Thanks, Mando. It's a pleasure to put that information out there. Obviously, Walrus and I probably aren't the two guys in here building those tools that you guys get to use. We definitely help out with some of those ideas and bring them out to the public to talk about them and show people where they can
go to use them, and they are awesome tools. We have an awesome dev team. These guys design, the website. It's just, fantastic team. So yeah, appreciate everybody else as well.
Absolutely. I don't think any other L1s got tools like this, guys. Nope. They sure aren't starting with a community of 200,000 people. I'll tell you that.
Right.
I think it's going to be an absolute blockbuster video watching this thing launch.
Heck yeah. Yes, sir. What about you, KG? Anything new coming up with IM?
Oh, yeah. So for those watching that don't know, we are building a native PulseChain wallet. No, we are not Richard Hart's team doing that, and that's okay. We actually today had a big meeting with our whole, not even our whole dev team, just a fraction of our dev team, which was 7 developers. We have a whole team on this thing, front end, back end, GUI, smart contract. We have a full team locked and loaded, dedicated to this project. For those that also don't know, we are the first token tokenizing wallet fees. Holders of our token, Internet Money Dividend, will receive a portion of all fees generated on our wallet, on the Pulse chain, on our wallet. Hold IMD, passive income in the form of Pulse. It's beautiful. It's sauce.
Wow.
We're building every day. Our community's growing. We have an awesome community, and I can't wait to push out a beta on our wallet. We got a site revamp inbound. We have amazing things coming. And to everybody in this room that's here with me right now, thank you guys, because I've become a better, smarter human being. You guys are some of the first people I ever interacted with in this space. I can't believe it's surreal right now that this is happening, and I'm honored and I'm thankful.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How about you, Vacation?
LV, awesome. Bring us home.
Yes, sir.
So Power City is coding away. We're working hard. And once we have code finished and tested, right, there's a lot of internal review to do and third-party audited, then we'll do, like Jesse said, then we will do a public test net, right? So we want to make sure it's right, it's safe, it's done, it's everything it should be. Then we'll let people play around with it, and then we'll launch, right? So nothing ahead of its time. But we got 3 things in the works right now. We got our core, we got the Transformer cross-chain swap, and we have the Pixel Park NFT marketplace. So we're working hard. We're building a lot of things, right? A lot of things that normally would take a single team a lot of time just to do on its own. So, we have a lot of people working to make this a reality. And, when it's all said and done, staking in, your Watt tokens in our Power City core will allow you to participate in the growth of the entire Power City ecosystem, right? The accelerator running the haunted strategy against liquid loans, the other half of accelerator that will be automatically compounding staking rewards and liquidity providing rewards and PulseX and other protocols. Within, we have Pixel Park with the NFT commissions. A lot of ideas we haven't even announced yet. So extremely busy. But this is, like, I think Walrus was saying, this has been the most excitement and the most gratifying work that I've ever had in my life. It is, long and hard hours, and it is a huge commitment. But I got to say, it is wonderful to be doing something that I love, that I want to get up every morning to do, versus the drudgery that I was doing before in private banking. So, and that's part of, like Mando was saying, this awesome community that we have of people who have given so much of themselves to make PulseChain and Hex what it is today, right? If we didn't have the people who are out here serving the community, right, we wouldn't have so many people actually caring about it. So it's not about one person, it's about all of us and how, what we've collectively accomplished together and what we can continue to accomplish together on PulseChain. So Power City looks forward to doing it with you. We'll be there with you every step of the way. And we're looking forward to having plenty of popcorn and beers ready to watch the fireworks when PulseChain launches.
Nice. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I've done backbreaking work my whole life. Mechanic type work, air conditioning service. The last year and specifically more the last 7-8 months with HowToPulse. This is something that I enjoy thoroughly. It's not backbreaking work; it's brain work, right? And I'm a troubleshooter by nature, so to have this brain power and be able to help the community and put myself out there, it's pretty awesome, to be part of this. So yeah, all that being said, HowToPulse is definitely out there putting out everything we can, tools. We are definitely building an NFT marketplace. Again, like you and Jesse, LV, we would love to put some beta out on testnet, which it's not going to be there anytime soon, just because we want it to be perfect, just like you guys. We're definitely going to have a ecosystem that people can do some staking. We do have a sacrifice that we will be launching here after PulseChain launches. We want people to be able to keep their copies, right? So we have some things in the work, nothing completely official to announce yet, but definitely looking forward to something coming soon for us. So.
And I do want to, make sure everyone knows that HowToPulse and Power City will be partying in Las Vegas on September 7th. So you come down to Fremont Street to the backstage bar and billiards to see both teams, along with Boxable. They'll have a casita in the back patio area. You can see, to see what's happening with the Boxable NFTs. We'll have, I think, Triplet Dad's couch there if you want to take a picture and live stream from his couch. And we're going to have DJ Lethal, Sid from Slipknot, and we have a special guest as well. We'll be making an announcement for very, very soon. So please look. Tickets are going to be under $50 each. So actually an affordable thing to do in Las Vegas to celebrate with your friends, to learn about PulseChain, to have a great evening. We're looking forward to seeing everyone there to hang out with you guys.
I got my VIP seat,
Good time, baby.
Looking forward to it.
Sure.
It's going to be
Awesome,
fun.
guys.
I'm going to be there.
Right on. Anybody have any last things to talk about?
That's it.
We're all
going to kumbaya. We love you, community.
Yeah, man.
Right on. Well, thanks everybody for joining HowToPulse's first live stream. Looks like we will be doing plenty more of these, putting out live education and whatnot, and just talking to community members and just trying to be part of that center core of the community. So thanks a lot, fellas. Appreciate you.
Yep. Great time, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Bye, everybody.